In this video I'm making a chuck to mount a scoop for hollowing. I'll be using an M33 nut that fits my lathe spindle and some scraps of plywood. A compass and a set of calipers will give you the illusion that I actually had a plan for this project. The calipers will tell me the maximum width of the nut so I can use the closest matching Forstner bit I have to drill out the recess for it. Using half of that measurement as a radius, I then draw some circles on the wood so I can cut out the rough shapes. Using some cliché movie magic, the rough shapes are cut out on the bandsaw. I don't need this piece or this one. With the plywood, I'm basically making a wooden faceplate on which I can mount different sized jigs to hold different sizes of scoops. The jig chuck thing will be made from MDF because that's what I had laying around. In my mind, it's softer, so less likely to dent or scratch up the scoop. After marking out the nut, I can drill out most of the waste material. This plywood has been in my shop for years and it's very hard and dusty. The fact that my Forstner bit is a bit dull doesn't really help, but I don't want to spend the time to sharpen it. Using my trusty cheapo chisel and ignoring the wooden mallet that I should be using, which is placed right behind me in the shot, I chisel out the corners so I can fit in the nut. Here you can kind of see for the first time how this will go together. A plywood faceplate and MDF jig screwed onto that. I could have cut off the corners with a bandsaw or aligned the nut a little bit better in the plywood, but I'm just gonna turn it like this. There is no fancy accuracy or fine woodworking on this project. However, I'm actually making this over the course of several weeks. So yeah, there you go. Time to make a mess. I'm using a 2-part epoxy to glue the nut into the base and I guess the actual face of the faceplate. I realized I wouldn't have enough free time to finish this project in a single week, so I decided while the glue is drying to make a very quick scoop so I can test it out. It's made out of whatchamacallit wood that I found in the wood pile next to my lathe. It has a bit of a flat side towards the tailstock here, and it kind of reminds me of an ice cream scoop, so I guess that's what I'm making. Ever since I bought it last year, I've been using this oscillating multi-tool to cut off the ends of spindles, and I absolutely love it. It's fast, accurate and cuts very cleanly. The added benefit is that I'm less likely to hit my knuckles against the chuck or anything else. Now I can turn this plywood disc around. I have a relatively wide blade on my bandsaw, which makes it kind of hard to make these curves, so it's just as fast to do it on the lathe. Now it is time to make the final piece of the faceplate, another wooden disc that will take up the empty space behind the thread of the lathe spindle and that little shoulder there. After screwing it up, I can drill out the center. My lathe spindle is M33, so I drilled a 40mm hole in this disc. It doesn't need to be tight, because that's what the nut is for, and it will be glued in with epoxy. After the glue is dry, the faceplate is complete. I might clean it up a little bit more later and apply some finish, but that doesn't help with the functionality. While the glue is drying, you can already clean up the laminated block of MDF. It still needs to be finished once attached to the faceplate. This stuff is as soft as butter, so a light touch is really all you need. Here I'm marking out where the jig will go on the faceplate. Making sure to avoid drilling into the screws that come in from the back. And I drill a pilot hole. This makes it easier to align the center of the jig with the center of the wooden faceplate, which is what I'm doing here. And now I can attach that faceplate and also the top piece, which I can now turn around so that it matches the jig. round, I can drill in a few holes to mount it again, making sure I don't hit the other screws. So I'm drilling the hole out to 4 centimeters, and the jig is made for a 6 centimeter sphere or scoop. Now I'll flip around the lid so I can hollow the inside of it a little bit. And right about here I'm realizing I should have measured where I put those holes so they line up when I turn the lid around. But I'm only using 2, so it worked out quite okay. So this little paper is a 6 centimeter circle, which is what will be on the inside. And I want to make sure that the scoop pokes out a little bit, so I can hoe it. Give it a little bit of sanding and sealing it up with acrylic sanding sealer. I could probably spray on this whole can because MDF is really porous, it just sucks it up. Roughly marking out the diameter of the circle. And then I can start hollowing out the sphere on the inside, or the cavity for the sphere. Then it's a matter of testing the fit and adjusting. And once the cavity is fine, I can mark out a place to cut the jig open so I can fit the handle through. And this is the quick and dirty way of doing it. Thinking of a way to make this opening for the handle more adjustable, so I might cut it out larger and square so I can put inserts in there to account for smaller or bigger handles. After drilling a little pilot hole in my scoop, I can start hollowing it. Here I'm using the Hope hollower. It is a tiny cutter, but it works very well. And apparently I completely misjudged how deep I hollowed it, so I have to remount the scoop and drill a bit further so I can hollow out some more. As you can see, remounting it is a bit of a challenge. It was just a tiny bit off center compared to the first one, or the first time that I mounted it, so now it's a bit bumpy. But since this was just a test piece, I didn't really care about it. I just wanted to see if the hollowing would work. Yep, that looks like an ice cream scoop. Just sanding the edges a little bit since I was a bit rough on the remounting. And there we go, that's a nice scoop. Might not be the prettiest, but it will scoop some ice cream in a pinch.